We have a very serious and menacing major hurricane taking aim at the Louisiana Gulf Coast. Good evening, I'm Mike Nasel with continuing updates on Hurricane Delta. You could see there a beautiful visible satellite imagery of the Gulf of Mexico as well as most of the continental United States, and obviously we have a very serious hurricane that is about to make landfall in about, say, 24 to 36 hours right along the north edge of the Gulf Coast of Louisiana. Let's get the latest on Hurricane Delta. As of 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern, the hurricane was at 24.8 north, 93.4 west. Winds are back up to 115 miles per hour. It's a major hurricane again, Category 3, and it's moving northwest at 12, but again, that motion should begin to be more northerly tonight. And then by tomorrow afternoon, it'll be bearing down on the Louisiana coast and come ashore sometime Friday evening or Friday night as what is expected to be a major hurricane. We do have a hurricane warning in effect from High Island, Texas to Morgan City, Louisiana, as well as tropical storm warnings for west of High Island to Sargent, Texas, and east of Morgan City to the mouth of the Pearl River. That includes New Orleans, Lake Pontchartrain, and Lake Maurepas. We also have a tropical storm watch east of the mouth of the Pearl River to Bay St. Louis in Mississippi. Again, this entire stretch of the already Laura-ravaged Louisiana coast is under fire from Hurricane Delta. You can see the forecast models are in tight agreement. This is almost a done deal here, that somewhere in western to mid-Louisiana is going to be where we have landfall. But remember, Delta is a large hurricane spatially, and it's growing in size even more, and so impacts will be wide-ranging. Look at this visible satellite loop, guys. We have quite a healthy-looking hurricane on our hands, and the Hurricane Center does expect further strengthening, although they do note that if this appearance keeps up, we could have a bout of rapid strengthening tonight, and I fear that we might be starting to see that. You can see the clouds there bubbling and building in the northern eye wall, and a very tight eye there in an increasingly dangerous-looking hurricane. And you can see the upper level winds here are pointing in the direction that there's going to go, so that's over to the north and then the northeast eventually, and come ashore somewhere there along the Louisiana coastline. So you guys got to be making your final preparations for what's going to happen with Hurricane Delta. Now, what are we talking about as far as impacts? Well, right now it's a Category 3, and so that is a devastating hurricane. And that's going to cause a lot of problems with wind, storm surge, not to mention the crashing waves on top of that. Category 3 hurricane, something like that, will be what the satellite looks like over Louisiana. And you can see on the left the devastation wrought by Category 3 storms. It's forecast to be anywhere between 110 and 130 miles an hour at landfall, and that is devastating damage expected with this storm. Very dangerous. Now here's a beautiful water vapor loop, and I wanted to show this to give you guys some idea what's going on here. There are a couple features in play. We have a high pressure area that flows clockwise that is sitting right there over, say, Florida and areas there of the eastern Gulf of Mexico, and that's steering the hurricane to the northwest. But we do have a developing trough of low pressure. You can see this dark area here over Texas and Oklahoma in the central U.S., and it's kind of all combining to force the hurricane in sort of this northwest, then north, then northeast direction right into the Louisiana coastline. And again, it's going to eventually move into the Tennessee and Ohio River valleys over the weekend. As it moves inland, it'll be weaker, obviously. It won't be a Category 3 hurricane, but it'll still cause problems well up into the southeastern U.S. You can see from that perspective, by the way, this is a dangerous-looking hurricane. Still a little bit lopsided, a lot of the convection on the left side, but as it wraps around, we could see further strengthening, and that is a very concerning and troubling thing at this hour. There's the wind shear, as I mentioned. It's got a little bit of that southerly flow here over the undercutting it a bit. That might be why it has that kind of oblong appearance right now, but as it wraps around, as I mentioned, we'll see further strengthening to at least 120, 125 miles an hour, a very serious hurricane. Now, what does that mean for storm surge? Vermilion Bay, 7 to 11 feet, Morgan City, 4 to 7 feet, even areas near the mouth of the Mississippi, 3 to 5 feet, and again, the highest surge right now looks to be generally between Rockefeller Wildlife Refuge and Morgan City, Louisiana. So if you're in this location, you want to be listening to your local officials, any evacuations. Marsh Island there will likely be inundated. Vermilion Bay will get the brunt of the surge. Avery Island, home of Tabasco sauce, is going to get hit very hard. And obviously, Lafayette, New Iberia, Abbeville. If you think, well, we're in Lafayette, we won't, we're inland, we're not too bad. You're not that far inland compared to Lake Charles, and look what happened to that with Hurricane Laura. Obviously, all of these areas that are wildlife refuges, we could hope that they're less populated for where the highest storm surge goes. But again, little communities, look what happened to Cameron. Look what happened to Grand Chenier. They got decimated back in August, so you got to be prepared. The key messages as of 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern on Hurricane Delta. Number 1, life-threatening storm surge near and to the east of where Delta makes landfall tomorrow. We have a storm surge warning in effect from High Island to Ocean Springs. The highest inundation of 7 to 11 feet, again, between Rockefeller Wildlife Refuge and Morgan City, Louisiana. Residents in that area should follow the local official advice, and the storm surge risk remains high despite the forecast decrease in intensity. Remember, the hurricane could start to weaken a bit just before landfall, but whatever it builds up, all that water, it's going to start to rise well in advance of the center. Number 2, hurricane force winds are expected tomorrow afternoon, Friday afternoon, somewhere within the hurricane warning area between High Island, Texas, and Morgan City, Louisiana, and that's going to spread inland. Southern Louisiana, you guys inland, as I mentioned, Lafayette, you're going to see hurricane winds Friday evening and Friday night. Prepare for those power outages. And finally, number 3, heavy rainfall will lead to significant flash flooding and minor to major river flooding in parts of Louisiana Friday and Saturday, and that's all going to spread into the lower Mississippi Valley throughout the weekend. And again, you guys want to just be prepared. This is a very serious hurricane, nothing to mess around with. You can see Hurricane Delta in October, Gulf of Mexico hurricane strengthening there, on track towards the northwest, then the north, and then the northeast, and off towards the Louisiana coast by the time Friday night rolls around. I'm Mike Naso with continuing video updates on this dangerous hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico. I'll talk to you guys later with more on Delta.